Hello. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here at our session, and special shout out to the Ericsson table over there. Can you tell we don't get out much? But we are so happy to be here, so excited to share with you the journey that we are very much on, still on, putting skills to work at Ericsson. If there's one thing that unites us, along with all the beautiful differences that we bring to conferences like these, it's that we all care about learning our way to a better future. And that's what this journey is for. And I love to tell you how Ericsson, just like some of the other companies that we've heard from today, we're 148 years old and we never act our age. We started off as a telegraph repair shop, started by a man and a woman, Hilda and Lars Magnus. We don't repair telegraphs anymore. So we've been reskilling, reimagining, and reinventing for a very long time. And today, the way you know us is every time you use your phone, all of your traffic, almost all of it, is traveling most likely on an Ericsson network. We are the leader bringing you 5G. And we don't need to look any further than our technology to realize why we are all doing what we do. We all know 5G is not the last G, right? Well, technology is inherently upgradable, and so are we. So are we. And we are proud to say that we have this sacred duty to get our 105,000 employees in 180 countries to change themselves, their skill sets and their mindsets, because we know that we are creating connections that can make the unimaginable possible. And that's why this journey means the world to us. I think learning is right there next to love as one of the most powerful sacred connections that humans can share. And technology at its finest is helping humans learn with and from other humans. It's interesting to think how much we've talked about AI in this conference. We have so much interest in the way we are learning and training machines. But really, it's the combination of human and artificial intelligence that will help us learn our way to a better future. And that future is what we very much have in mind. So today, we're going to share our story of the future of skills and what we see as the skills of the future, and how we have tried to be systematic, not programmatic, but systematic in how we build future critical skills. Peter's going to talk about what I think is some of the most important and not common work that's out there, which is putting jobs and skills together at the heart of work and the digital infrastructure for doing that. And then to talk about the chapter of the journey that we are very much on. How do we put skills to work in ways that work for all? And we have had a lot of pain and a lot of progress that we learn from, and we hope you can learn from it too. But the journey as a whole for us is about two things. We want to build skills, build future critical skills, and we want to do that systematically, company-wide, which means we have to sense what skills matter, and we have to connect skills to strategy, and we have got to make sure and secure that we build future critical skills with speed, with scale, and accountability. That's only part one. Part two is putting skills to work. We need to be equally systematic, equally reliable, and even more inclusive than we've ever been about putting skills to work in high-impact areas, in growth areas, by being skills-based increasingly across all of our people practices. And really building on the beautiful session Michelle hosted this morning, it's about this. It's about creating a marketplace of equity, of opportunity, where the supply of our people with their critical skills, their lived experiences, their range, their interests, can find the opportunity of the demand. Those people, those mentors, those projects, those discoveries that can help them become their next. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that the people we have must continually become the people we need. And there are 3 steps in this journey. That makes a whole lot of sense looking back, but maybe not while we were doing it. Which is, first we had to initialize a systematic approach to connect skills to strategy, and to get the whole company to focus on the vital few skills that matter. These last 2 years, Peter's going to talk about how we've been trying to mobilize a digitalized jobs and skills architecture that is underneath. It's the foundation for everything you see up there. And now we want to capitalize. How do we truly become a company where resource fluidity is world-class? Because I tell you, the companies that are going to outperform other companies will do so by outlearning them and being able to put the right people with the right skills in the right places at the right time, again and again and again. And we are a company, just like you are, of people on the move. And skills are the signature of people on the move. And they are the passport for moving through the world of work. And our approach has been to optimize how this works in 3 dimensions: our ecosystem, our culture system, and our business system. It means knowing the skills we have, knowing the skills we need, being able to surface the best of you, matching opportunities to people, not just the other way around, and not just thinking that a learning culture can exist on its own, but knowing that a learning culture needs a teaching culture, and really gearing up for growth. The reason we do this is to make sure that learning drives our business forward. And our journey began, as I said, by shifting our approach from programmatic to systematic, thinking what keeps us from having the right skills in the right place, and what are those vital few skills, those vital few, and I mean a single-digit number, that are essential for realizing our strategy. One gave us, top-down, the global critical skills. That icon is extremely well recognized in our company today as a symbol. We call it the blue horizon. Some people call it the blue protractor, but it's not a protractor, it's a horizon. Meant to say, these are the global critical skills, and they are independent of job role, independent of functional area. On the bottom is the foundation of everything. These are the job and skills model, the job role skills necessary, connecting skills to the work we need. So how did we do this? What is this systematic approach? First, I'll tell you an example of where it's working for us before I describe the approach itself. AI is what we've been talking about today. We started talking about it 5 years ago. And we started with a small group of people, an accelerator, a seed, 300 scientists. And we applied precisely the approach I'm about to summarize. And I'm proud to tell you we ended last year with 30,000 people in our company who have a very proficient level of skills in AI. So we know this works because it took us from 300 to 30,000. So what is that simple strategy? It's really 4 steps. Define the critical skills. And as I said, the most counterintuitive thing about this is it's not us defining them. This is the work of our strategy team. Whoever owns your company's strategy, whether they realize it or not, co-owns the critical skills of your company's future, because those skills are the ones necessary to secure the strategy. And they have an expiration date. So it is now part of our process every year to define and refine them. The other thing that we did, which might seem simple, but it's become profound for us, is to set 4 levels of skill throughout the company. And whether you're in Bangalore or Budapest or Birmingham, a level 3 is a level 3 is a level 3. And then we are building our journeys. And here, Degreed has been instrumental. Experiential journeys, hands-on journeys, where completion is important, but what really qualifies you are the credentials that you earn through assessment. And we simplified our world. There's so much, you just heard from the prior session, there's so much you can measure, but what matters the most? What level of skill are you? What level of skill do you need to be? And how many people are at what level of skill? We call this skills shift as an OKR. And again, Degreed has been so instrumental for us because we have 100,000 people, 99% adoption of Degreed at Ericsson, and they're using it to build these skills. And they're also using it to design and determine their 4 focus skills that are essential for their future. And I'm going to turn it over to Peter to take you to the next part about how jobs and skills is at the heart of work.
Okay, thanks so much, Vidya. Okay, we're going to swap from an American accent to a British accent. Why are we in this room all so excited about this thing called skills? And I think maybe one reason is that it enables each one of us to be successful. It enables our organizations to be more successful. But when we started on this journey, and if I wind the clock back to 2019, so kind of 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't about such kind of lofty ambitions. It was more about kind of how do we solve some problems here? And because when we started to look at what we had got in Ericsson, we got some of these issues. You know, Ericsson is a technology-first company. We are a company that changes our technologies on a regular basis, but our skills architecture seemed to kind of stay static. You know, our whole job architecture, we had jobs that hadn't been updated since 2013. So we looked at that and thought, this is something we need to change. We didn't have enough career transparency. I don't know if this resonates in some of your organizations, but when people wanted to think about, well, what do I do next? It wasn't clear in terms of the skills that was needed. And last year, we recruited over 10,000 people in Ericsson. And you know, what we did and been doing for a few years, and we looked at ourselves in 2019, 2020, we threw away the receipt. We'd spend a lot of time assessing people, understanding people, and then threw away the receipt. But not only that, we didn't give people, it wasn't easy enough for people to promote the best of them. And that, I think, is super important in organizations. Not only that, our workforce planning was too tactical. So this was not a great list, and something that we needed to do something about. So we really thought we had to go back to foundations. We needed to understand better the work and skills that were needed in Ericsson. We needed to better knit that into the fabric of Ericsson. And not only that, not only does this job and skills, not only does that help us understand the work and skills we need better, it also is the foundation to a lot of our people experience. So whether that be recruiting, learning, planning, it's all there. And it's all the foundation, as Vidya said earlier. But there were 3 main goals, 3 things that we think we had to do to make this a success. One was we had to simplify, because everything was just far too complex. We'd over-engineered in Ericsson language. Secondly, it needed to be more dynamic. You know, we hadn't updated our old competence catalog for 3 or 4 years. We needed it to be more automated, and I'm sure this is what a lot of you are trying to achieve. Do that, and we deliver more value. So what intangible terms have we changed to improve this? So firstly, we created a new digital job architecture. And most importantly, we brought skills into our jobs. But not lots and lots of skills, up to the 15 differentiating, the critical skills that really matter for that job. We digitalized those jobs. We partnered out in the business with over 90 job role owners and created 1,200 job profiles. And we put them in success factors. We put them in success factors with the criteria that would help people understand the job level. But perhaps most interesting to those of you out there is that we introduced a new dynamic skill taxonomy, a new catalog of skills, new structured catalog of skills that would act as the basis across all of our processes. And we partnered with a small company in Belgium, TechWolf, to help us automate this whole process and produce skills intelligence. But not only in the skills taxonomy, we wanted to introduce new governance as well, because that governance needed to be in the flow. And what do we mean by that? Well, what we mean is that I can change a job when it's right for the business. It's not a case of the tail wagging the dog. No, why should businesses, units, wait for the people function or any structure to allow them to make changes to their skills or to their job roles? So doing it at the time that it matters for the business. The business should be in the lead. It was really important that we produce across the whole organization one proficiency scale. So the global critical skills that Vidya talked about, we brought the proficiency scale in there. The same proficiency scale exists in our job profiles, the same in our assessments. So all of this, using the same basic framework, simplifies things. And finally, we change the way that we look at how we create impact in the organization. Very simply, it's the skill multiplied by the behavior.
Yeah.
The skill being what you can do, the behavior being how you do it. So those are the changes we made. But infrastructure or ecosystem also matters in terms of data. There's one thing that matters for skills, it's data. And what you see here is the skills intelligence that we've started to work on. And through this skills intelligence, we get a window to the outside. A window that tells us what emerging skills, a window that tells us what skills are going down, what are the skills, and we get a window into our own organization as well. So what is this doing? It's kind of making skills visible across the organization through that window. And what you see here, this where it says Welcome to Skills Hub, this is what is available to all of our job role owners and to all of our skill area owners, people out there in the business, so they are better informed about the skills. But data also enables us to produce this year-end skills report, which we're just about to produce the 2023 version. What this enables us to do is to put front and center in the organization, why skills really matter and what is happening with skills across the organization. But data also helps address that problem that I mentioned at the beginning, which is that how do people promote the best of them? And this is something that is kind of work in progress at the moment. So we're not there yet with this. So we're just doing experiments. But when people promote the best of them, we want that to be their skill signature. What defines them in terms of their skills? So they have the best opportunity for those jobs that they want, how they want to progress their career. But it's not just skill, it's also will. Yes. How much do they want to increase the skills as well? And we're doing that in two ways. We're experimenting with this in a couple of ways. Here you see a familiar face on the top of the critical skills profile. What we've done here is we've created an app that enables us to say, okay, where has Vidya got to with her different critical skills, those 8 critical skills? But it also means you can click on this app to then say, what do I want to do next? So if you like, the will comes in. But we don't want to stop there. Where we want to go to is that each person has their overall skills signature. And this is this is based on real data. This is not just mocked up. What you see there are my skills. The size of the circle indicates where I'm my most skilled. So I'm most skilled, as you can see, in business and people management. Those are my 2 main areas. What you see on the right of that is the list of adjacent skills that I have as well, and those ones that are validated. So what we want to do with this is, can that go into all of the different systems, all the different processes, so you see the same version of me running through all of those different processes and systems. That's the goal. Regrettably, we're not quite there yet, but I hope if we come back next year, we can tell you we're there. But all of this infrastructure, I'll let you into a little secret. All of this infrastructure really doesn't matter unless you put skills to work. So in the end, you can have the most wonderful infrastructure and ecosystem around skills. But if you build it, you can't guarantee they'll come. What you need to do, what we've seen is that you actually then need to put this infrastructure to work. And Why do we want to do this? Well, I think for a few reasons. Why do we want to put it to work? I think one, because it enables retention and inclusion. The biggest reason why people leave our company is because they don't see growth. And so retention for us is a key element here. Not only that, I think it's important in terms of diversity and inclusion. We want to work for companies where I am recognized, I am able to move my career on because of the skills I have and the impact I make, not because of any other reason. So we think it helps with that. Secondly, it helps with what I call visible simplicity. If you are seeing the same skills in all the different systems, and you're seeing whether I'm in the talent marketplace, whether I'm in Degreed, I'm seeing it all in those different systems, then there's kind of a whole just visible simplicity about it. And then thirdly, I mentioned that as a technology-first company, we are always on the pivot. So our latest pivot is towards more APIs and driving an API-based business. And that pivot is supported if you enable skills. Yep. That's where the dynamic element is coming. If you don't have dynamic skills, then how can you pivot quickly as a company? So if we're going to put skills to work, if we're going to enable us to make the steps towards a skills-based organization, what sort of things have to happen? Well, the thing is, in our experience, you have to play the long game with this. Don't expect it to change overnight. Because what you are doing is you're making changes, tweaks, improvements to each of the skills, each of your processes in your familiar areas of recruitment, learning, planning, and so on. So let's take some examples. In recruitment and hiring, the first one there's got a tick against it. And that's because we brought skills into job advertising. And so we've advertising now jobs with the same skills that we put into our job profiles. And then you get that visible simplicity again. When managers are shortlisting, who are the best candidates? And our systems, so our talent marketplace, is suggesting these are the best matches for your roles, then it's being done on the same set of skills. And that has that kind of level playing field again about it. So that we've already implemented. But even if you do that, there's no guarantee it's all going to come out perfectly in the wash. You know, in the end, you also need your managers to use skills selection methods and your recruiters. So this we're yet to do, but we are soon going to be rolling that out this year. But the thing that's always said to me, and I think I mentioned it yesterday, is that you can do all this again, and somebody says to you, well, how do you know you're making any progress? Are you really achieving what you're setting out to do? I want some evidence. So these are the sorts of things. And this is, again, kind of, we are agreeing this with the people in talent acquisition. And so we're literally at this point agreeing these measurables. So does all of these changes make a difference in terms of time to fill? Are the sorts of critical skills that are in the job roles or in the global critical skills, are the number of openings we've got, are they being tagged with those skills? Are new hires really being selected on the basis of skills? Can we put our hand on our heart and really say that is the case? But it's not just recruitment and hiring, career mobility as well. Now, the big thing that we are focused on this year is a new project marketplace. So we've kind of achieved making intelligent matching of people with vacancies against skills, so that's done. But we now need to do the same with projects. And projects, is a fantastic thing in that it enables people to have true experiential learning and to make steps and build the skills that they really want. When we assess people internally for specific job roles, one of the things we want to do there is that we bring skills into all of those assessments. So again, you're running it through all of your different processes.
Yep.
On upskilling and reskilling, project-based learning. We want our learning journeys to not just be about content. We want them to be project-based. And then they can make use of things like the talent marketplace to realize those projects. So when people come out of those journeys, they are better equipped to move their career on. There's nothing more disappointing than getting to the end of a great big learning journey that you've invested your heart in, and you don't get the opportunity at the end of it. We want to increase people's chances of that true reskilling. In Degreed, we want to see more job role plans that are focused on those skills in those job roles. So here's some of the measurables that we're looking at there. On planning, I mentioned that our planning was way too tactical, but we also have the global critical skills that we are also setting targets around. So this is a little bit about how we are putting skills to work. Now, Vidya's going to tell you, I think, a little bit now about what are our ambitions.
Yes. We already have looked back on our journey as we look ahead, and there's just so much for us to learn, and you too, but we are learning from our own journey. And the first is that I think what brings us here again, we all have the most well-intentioned ambition. Our ambition is no less than our all 100,000 people systematically shifting their skills in areas that we know are getting them ready and getting us ready for tomorrow. The growth of our people is what is driving the growth of our company. And I can't think of any company that can grow anymore without first growing its people. And it also means that those same 100,000 people are not just getting ready today for tomorrow, but they're getting ready today for today. It means that they're having an improved employee experience because they are increasing the use of skills-based practices, not as an end of itself, but as a means to the end of putting skills to work so that continually and systematically the people we have become the people we need again and again. And what we have learned along the way and are still learning is what Peter's going to cover quickly.
Okay, so it's been a bit of a painful journey, if we're honest. We've got the scars. So you don't get the same scars, here's some lessons. Firstly, focus on value. Yes. We focused on value at the beginning through doing some experiments. We probably should have done more. But when you get to the end, then it's all about value as well, because that's the skills-based people practices. That's the whole point of them. Those changes, those tweaks to those ways of working is about creating new value. Yep. Connecting skills to strategy. If you want the business to take notice, then the business needs to know that you're connecting skills to strategy. Less is more. So we only focus on 8 global critical skills. In the job roles, we say up to 15 critical skills. That's it. What makes the difference now? Well, what is enabling a lot of this, enabling automation and enabling us to be dynamic? Well, it's new digital capabilities. Check out the digital capabilities, because that is the way that you can now achieve things. It's not just about L&D. It's about the people, the whole of your people function or HR function. It's about involving them, getting the whole business involved in this. It's impossible to succeed unless you get involved all of those. And data is what brings visibility. But there is one lesson, I think, overall here that matters more than anything. Unless you put skills to work, you will not get adoption. Putting skills to work is what makes it real for people. And that is almost the endpoint that you're trying to get to.
Go to the next thing to end on. if there's one message that I'm taking away from today, it's that we are unprecedentedly challenged, but it is also unprecedentedly necessary for us to rise to that challenge, because we know, maybe more than even people outside these walls know, if we don't put more time and effort into putting more work into learning so that we can put more learning into work, we are all supremely well equipped for a world that no longer exists. And that is why we fundamentally believe the future belongs to the learners. Thank you.